Instant Mood Improver is recorded on Bunurong country. I pay my respects to local elders past, present and emerging and acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded and this always was and always will be Aboriginal land. I'd also like to extend a warm welcome to any mob who may be listening today.
Put a pep in your step, turn your frown upside down, make it more fun to be around. Instant Mood Improver, Instant Mood Improver, Instant Mood Improver, the songs that make you feel happy again.
G'day everyone, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Instant Mood Improver, a happy music podcast. I'm your host, freelance music journalist, content creator, and vocalist for the band Catholic Guilt, Brenton Harris. Each week on Instant Mood Improver, I speak to a guest about a song that instantly improves their mood the moment they hear it, and use that as a leaping off point for a broader discussion about the role that music plays in their happiness. Today's guest is Connie Sgarbossa, vocalist for San Diego hardcore band Seeyouspacecowboy. Seeyouspacecowboy are about to make their maiden trip down under, in support of Stick to Your Guns on their Diamond 10th anniversary tour run. Connie was gracious enough to spend some time with me talking about her instant mood improver, Katy Perry's I Kissed a Girl. G'day everyone, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Instant Mood Improver, a happy music podcast. I'm your host, Brenton Harris, and today I am joined for this discussion about joy and love in music by none other than Connie Sgarbossa from the excellently named San Diego hardcore punks Seeyouspacecowboy. How are you, Connie?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. One thing I love to know when I talk to people from opposite sides of the planet is what music brings them joy. So what is your choice for Instant Mood Improver today? What's the song that puts a pep in your step?
Okay, so the song that I picked that immediately just makes me feel good is I Kissed a Girl by Katy Perry.
Hell yeah, Katy Perry. Now, we've had Carly Rae Jepsen, and now we've got Katy Perry. This podcast is going exactly where I wanted it to. I've got to be honest. What is it about I Kissed a Girl that inspires this feeling of joy in you, Connie?
I think just any time it comes on, it's a really nostalgic song for me because I heard it back in the day when it came out, back when I would take the bus to summer school or whatever, blah blah blah. And then nowadays, it's just a song that always makes me happy, always makes me in a good mood. If I'm maybe having a few drinks that night, I'll always request that song comes on. It just makes me happy because it has that nostalgic nature to me, but it's also just a fun song in general. I love pop music. I know it's weird. I play in a hardcore band, but I love pop music, and I've always loved all that stuff, Lady Gaga, all that shit. So it's just a song that just makes me feel good, instantaneously.
Have you ever been tempted to cover it and Seeyouspacecowboy?
No, that's definitely something that would not fly with everyone in the band.
That's irrelevant. Lead singer syndrome. Just go with it. Now, Katy Perry is quite a shiny artist, which is an interesting thing because music that makes us happy doesn't necessarily have to be shiny in the way that this song is. I'm curious, has anyone told you that the music that Seeyouspacecowboy write has made them feel happy the moment they hear it?
I mean, not happy, but definitely in a cathartic nature. For me, it breaks down to there's happy songs, all these pop tracks and shit like that, and then there's cathartic music. They're very different things for me. There's things I listen to that are cathartic, which I would imagine Seeyouspacecowboy goes into that category for a lot of people, but I wouldn't necessarily say that anyone's ever told me that we make them happy in that way.
Catharsis, I'll take. That's still happiness and joy. I suppose there is happiness and joy in sharing in the release of those emotions at shows. Do you find that you see that in your audience members?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, it's something that's always been important for me, stage diving, grabbing the mic and singing along, piling on top of people. And we see that at our own shows, and there's definitely that joint shared explosion of emotion, when you see stuff like that. That's why I love hardcore a lot, and when our shows are like that, because that's what I want to see. I don't want to see a bunch of crowds standing there or just not doing shit. Like you want to see people like sharing in that like feeling that you're having and like expressing it in ways like front flipping off stage or like climbing on top of each other to like grab at the mic and like sing along. Like all those kinds of things are like what has made hardcore so cool to me since I was like a little kid. And so I love when like people do that for my band, and I love doing that for other bands as well. Like if I go to a show that I really want to be at, like you will see me like front flipping off the stage, like singing along, like doing everything I can to like participate in that like joint expression of emotion.
That's awesome. I really look forward to seeing you in person when you come out with Stick to Your Guns on their Diamond 10-year anniversary. Now, I'm curious, did Diamond have an impact on you as a human being when it first dropped?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like being from SoCal, like Stick to Your Guns is a band that's been there like, throughout the ages, essentially. And I've already seen them perform Diamond front to back, like on like in this run. Like I saw them in San Diego, and I was definitely doing all those things I was talking about, like diving off stage, like singing along, like I got to do a song with them, like so like yeah, Diamond is a really cool expressive album to me, and like it's gonna be really cool to like see it every day for sure.
That's awesome. Now, they have a bit of a reputation for being one of the most inclusive acts in the hardcore scene. Do you find that that Stick to Your Guns are one of those bands that make you feel accepted and welcome in the hardcore community?
Oh yeah, I mean, we toured with them before. We toured with them a couple times, and like we've known them for a while. So like, yeah, they've never, they've always been the band that's like everything's chill. I mean, for the most part, in hardcore, when dealing with like other bands and shit, like everybody's fucking chill as shit. It's mostly just like internet fools who like, anonymous people who like run their fucking mouths or whatever. But like I've never had to like deal with that shit like in person in the hardcore scene, really.
That's beautiful to hear. I think that's one of the misnomers about heavy music is that people from external to it have these negative connotations about the way that we would behave as people. And reality is completely the opposite of that. Everyone's so chill and lovely and friendly.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's like why we flock to hardcore, is like a place to like belong and like exist and like something that we love. Because like, yeah, like if you look from the outside, you see these shows, people moshing, crowd killing, going crazy, like hurting each other, whatever. But like it really is like about like community at the end of the day. Like we're all there because we share a love for like this genre of music and shit, and like there is a camaraderie to that like people from the outside might not see. Them might be like, why are you fucking throwing kicks at like the edge of the pit? When it's like, no, it's like because we're all there for the same reason. Like I take my turn moshing, and then when it's someone else's turn, like yeah, I brace myself when they fucking try and kick me in the head, but like I enjoy it. I love it.
Now, touching back on the Katy Perry "I Kissed a Girl" conversation, have you ever thrown down to "I Kissed a Girl" by Katy Perry?
No, I have not ever thrown down to "I Kissed a Girl," but then again, I've never heard a band play it, so who knows? Maybe I would.
Maybe you would. I'd love to see that. Now, I'm also curious, the first time you heard that song, did it instantly fill you with this sensation of joy and happiness?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel like I like first heard it like on the radio or something, and then I immediately put it on my little iPod Nano back in the day. Like it definitely was a song. It was like one of the first like pop songs I heard where I'm like, oh yeah, I really, really like this song. So at that point, I mostly listened to like 80s hardcore and indie rock and then like trip hop and stuff like that. And that was like the first song where I'm like, oh, like this is a really good song. Like even though it's like they're playing on the radio and it's a pop song, like I really, really like this song.
There was a chance you might know this being from San Diego, but Katy actually appeared on a POD song years and years ago.
Wow, I did not know that. That's
yeah. And then popped up on the Warped Tour, as you may be familiar with prior to I Kissed a Girl really taking off. So there is a little bit of punk cred in the Katy Perry back catalog.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Katy Perry was a person that like back in that era of like you listen to like Katy Perry, and then Attack came out like a little bit later, and like Paramore was around and blah blah. Like I feel like Katy Perry was kind of put into that like originally when she first started releasing music was put into that like whole like thing for a second. Of course, then she became like this huge pop star and blah blah. But I feel like there was a time where like a lot of scene kids were like listening to like Katy Perry as well.
Now, just so that people know who are listening, the song that Katy Perry appeared on with POD was called Goodbye for Now. So if you want to have a deep dive and watch Katy Perry singing backing vocals on Jay Leno with POD, it's about as San Diego as something can get.
That is absolutely wild.
It is indeed. Now, something that brings me joy and happiness is actually your record, because it takes me back to a time and place in my life where a lot of the early 2000s soundscapes in post-hardcore, metalcore, and emo were dominating my playlisting. I'm curious, is there a definitive influence from the noughties on your sound, in your opinion?
There's definitely like an influence from like I guess like late 90s, early 2000s. Like of course like we like changed our sound like throughout the years. We went from like a grime band that was very influenced by like the Locusts and Daughters and like Heavy Low Low to like being more influenced by like Emery and Seosin and Under Oath and stuff like that. And even like post-hardcore brands like At the Drive-In. We definitely have taken a lot of influence from like that mid 2000s sound, because I feel like that was like a cool experimental time before it got completely turned into like cookie cutter scene stuff that it later did. I really like that early era where like bands were just like throwing stuff at the wall, like seeing what sounded cool and seeing what would stick.
Hell yeah. Now, the record, The Romance of Affliction, it was actually produced by Knocked Loose guitarist. That is awesome. A question though, was it intimidating going into the studio with someone who was on such an upwards trajectory at the time in which you went in?
I mean, not really. At that point, I'd already toured with him. Like I toured with Isaac. Like we had toured with Knocked Loose in 2019. So like it was just kind of like chill. I was just stoked that he was like down to do it, because at that point he hadn't really been producing any records. I think he had done like 1 or 2 before us. It was just like kind of cool that he was like down to do it, even though like we were like so far removed from like what like Knocked Loose is. But like Isaac is someone who like loves a vast variety of music. I mean, we even worked with him on some songs on the new album that we just did. So he's someone who's just like a music lover and like a genius. And so like you can bring him anything and he'd be like, yeah, I love this. Like let's like write some songs, like whatever. You can throw anything at him and he'll just like take it and be like, all right, I know what to do.
That's awesome. Are you working on a follow-up?
Yeah, we have been for the last like year, writing and recording, blah blah blah. Like we're almost done with it. It'll come out next year.
That's brilliant. Now, just a bit of a swerve. I've just thought of this off the top of my head, but let's go with it anyway. If you could recommend one song of See You Space Cowboys to get someone in the mood to just really break free, let loose, and just, I don't know, in their living room, run around moshing like an absolute nutter, what song would you choose?
I think in terms of like just like letting go and like going crazy, probably like Misinterpreting Constellations. I feel like that's like, even though it's like off the record we just did, it's like it strikes a balance of like melody with like chaos and like breakdown still. So I'd say Misinterpreting Constellations. Like the other one would be like End of a Brief Moment of Lasting Intimacy, but that's a bit more like post-hardcore, has a breakdown, but it's more just like linear. But Misinterpreting Constellations to me is like this like crazy bombastic song, but still has like a good like melody to it. That's
brilliant. I do love the way that you're able to bring all of these experimental sounds together in one cohesive release. And I really, really look forward to seeing where this goes next on the next record, because you got your whole life to write to write your first couple, and then after that you've got to start, I suppose, embracing the now. And I'm curious to see what the now sounds like See You Space Cowboy.
We've been playing around with a lot of different sounds, a lot of different things, and taking from like the past stuff that we listened to that wasn't post-hardcore, metalcore, that was like more dancey indie rock or whatever. So I feel like we put together a pretty interesting like combination of like music. Like it's not going to be like the same like thing that like people might expect. Like it's like, oh yeah, we're just taking from like these old post-hardcore bands and like that's it. There's definitely like some like curveballs on there in terms of like what we took influence from.
Just before I let you go, I do have a couple of quick questions. The first one is, if you could have any song play when you enter a room to announce your arrival into that room, what song would you like it to be?
It'd be Inertia Creeps by Massive Attack.
Sick. And the next one of these is, what is the best song on the new See You Space Cowboy record? Because that's what we're going to play at the end of this podcast.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Off the new record that we have.
Well, in any record.
I don't know. I put Misinterpreting Constellations because I don't know if when we're releasing new songs. So Misinterpreting Constellations then.
That's brilliant. And of course, we'll also play I Kissed a Girl by Katy Perry. And I think back to back, they're going to give people a real experience, a real emotional collision over.
Yeah, most likely.
I really enjoy the way that I've got an opportunity to see sort of both sides of your musical personality in this discussion. And I truly do believe that that music is the one thing on the planet that can take us from a place of sorrow to a place of joy in a second. And I really hope that you're looking forward to coming out to Australia to play with Stick to Your Guns. I know Australia's been aching for you to come out. So it's very cool for us to get the chance to experience that live. And can I just ask you a question? Can you please put I Kissed a Girl on the pre-show playlist?
We don't control the pre-show playlist. If I could, I would. But I definitely am looking forward to coming out to Australia for the first time. It's been somewhere I've wanted to go for a while. I will do my best to get I Kissed a Girl on the pre-show playlist.
Just for Melbourne. I just want Melbourne. just so that we can have a dance. That's it. That's the only reason. Just so we can
I'll try my best.
Brilliant. Well, this has been another episode of Instant Mood Improver, a happy music podcast. And I really appreciate Connie for sharing her time today as we were going through the song that puts a pep in her step, puts the front upside down, but makes the world a little bit better, if only for 3 minutes. Katy Perry's I Kissed a Girl. I liked it. Which I believe involves the words, a taste of her cherry chapstick. I just can't stop singing it the minute. It's a brilliant song. Like, that's a well-written rhyming scheme. As soon as you start, you can't stop.
It's absolutely great.
All right, so highly recommend everyone goes out and checks out See You Space Cowboy. They'll be out on the road with Stick to Your Guns in Australia next year. Do yourselves a favor and get there early and check out their set. In the meantime and in between time, stay happy, stay joyful, and keep on busting those instant mood improvers. Have a right day, Connie.
Thank you.
That brings to a close this episode of Instant Mood Improver, a happy music podcast. A massive shout out to Connie from See You Space Cowboy for appearing on the pod today. The band will be touring in Australia for the very first time as part of Stick to Your Guns' Diamond 10th anniversary tour through late January and early February. Head to destroyalliance.com for more info on the tour. If you enjoyed our discussion today, I'd appreciate it if you left a positive review or gave me a follow on Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram. I'll leave you now with the uplifting sounds of Connie's Instant Mood Improver, Katy Perry's I Kissed a Girl, followed by See You Space Cowboy's chaotic mood shifter, Misinterpreting Constellations.